Whenever I hear Dunkin' Egg, I always think of Dunkaroos. The snack.
Kangaroo snack.
Yeah,
there.
that you dip.
Hell yes.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Dunkin' Egg. What up? And welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners. I am Nate. Sitting with me, as always, is my brother Zach.
Yo!
We are a full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire, starting with Game of Thrones.
Ooh-wee.
So if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome, thank you. If you're welcoming yourselves back to our little...
Hail and well met, I guess.
Yeah,
you
sure
get a
that.
special greeting. Special greeting.
Well, they don't... Alright, I guess just because they found us earlier, they get special treatment.
I don't know, whatever. If you joined us last week, we were reading Tyrion 2, and it happened to be Tyrion's last chapter at the wall.
It was Tyrion 3, though.
Was it Tyrion 3?
Yeah.
Damn it all. Tyrion 3, and it happened to be Tyrion's last chapter at the wall. And we got some juicy bits between Tyrion and some of the Night's Watchmen and Mormont begging him. And then we got Jon and Tyrion's final farewell and them clasping hands and calling each other friend.
That was pleasant.
And it was nice. And this week we are going to be covering Arya 2. But for a minute, like, how's life? Things are good right now. We're right in the thick of season 8. Things are great. There's plenty of new content to be discussed.
Yeah, there's tons. So we record these episodes a little bit before they air, and so
A tad bit.
If you're listening, season 8's 4th episode aired yesterday.
Aw, shit.
However, at our current time,
We haven't seen it.
it's non-existent at the moment. So look forward to our discussion episode about that Thursday.
Yeah.
That's in just 3 days is how the weekdays work
Usually.
So check that out.
But today we're back into the book, and I think it's really fun to be right now reading the first book in the series while contrasting that with the last season of the show.
Yeah.
To just sort of see where all these characters began.
Well, it's nice because a lot of the first season was just so well done.
Yeah, it was very true to form.
The writing was good. It was very just on the head. And so we can really... It brings back the show's season 1 very easily.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's just so prevalent in our mind from reading this first book. And, man, it's so good. Like, I'm so pissed at myself because... It's going to be tough for us reading this chapter here today, Arya 2, because immediately following this, we're going to be recording our first Patreon episode, which is the sample chapter from Winds of Winter, Mercy.
Yeah, this chapter specifically, it's such a dire contrast.
Yeah, there's so much, just the situation, the knowledge
and
base,
if
the
obviously
learning.
we are full spoiler, but some people don't like reading sample chapters, so we won't talk too much about Mercy here. As we said, that's for Patreon, so we won't spoil anything as to who
All
Mercy
that
is or
stuff
whatever.
and...
But just these are really good chapters to compare side by side. Arya is in a pretty not dark situation here, but there's a pretty interesting situation evolving around Arya in this her second chapter of Game of Thrones, and then the Mercy chapter is pretty dark, and they just compare really well. So we're excited.
So the
for
Mercy
that.
chapter will be up on Patreon before this chapter actually airs.
Definitely, yeah.
So hopefully you've had a chance to check that out. If not, like he said, it couples really well with this chapter, Arya 2, and so I think that now.
Let's jump right in. So Arya is eating dinner, and Ned is arriving late to the table once again, and she can tell by his face that he has been fighting with the council yet again.
Yeah, so they're eating in the small hall, which is, not a small hall.
No.
It's just named that because it's a smaller hall than the Great Hall.
Yeah, it's the name is only named so to set it apart from the Great Hall, and that's, sure, why not?
And so, so she's in there, and it's not just her. She's also, got her sister and Septim Ordain and all the Stark soldiers, all the Stark men that came south with them.
Yeah, 50 of Ned's household guard, including Jory, are also eating with them, dining with them. And she also notices that Ned's household guard have new sort of fancy pins. She can see the progression of sort of the wealth that Ned's new station has given even to his household guard, where even now they have new shiny pins pinning their cloaks, and it's just sort of this upgrade in station that's very subtle. But Jory mentions the tourney that's being held in the Hand's honor. And Arya can see that Ned just wants nothing to fucking do with this
because did you
tournament.
mention that when he walked in, she could kind of tell just by his facial expressions that he's been arguing with the small council again. And so, yeah, Jory brings up probably the one thing Ned's so fucking tired of hearing about right now, because he thinks it's a dumb idea to begin with, and yet he's forced to follow with, Robert's stupid antics.
Yeah.
And he's the one that's got to deal with all the bullshit of getting the monies moved around, getting things scheduled and ordered and taken care of.
For something that Ned sees he sees it as completely unnecessary. It's just an added extravagance that they can't really afford. But Sansa, however, seated as far away from Arya as possible without garnering any attention from her father, any negative attention, mentions that she's really excited. She really wants to go to this tourney, and Ned isn't fond of that at all. This may be Robert's folly, but I'm not subjecting my daughters to it as well, type of thing. Septim Mordain speaks up, pointing out that all the ladies of the court are going to be attending, and it would look kind of odd if the king's own Hand's daughter...
Like, looking at it from Sansa's point of view, like, fuck yeah, Septim Mordain. Like, want to go and hang out at the tourney, and that kind of... I felt bad for Sansa there, like, because, Sansa is the typical 13-year-old girl that you don't really want to feel bad for.
Yeah,
no, you've been in her
attorney
season.
at King's Landing. I'm
and
sure
that's exciting.
Sansa may have seen attorney, maybe not, but attorney at King's Landing.
Well, I think she even
said
in the chapter that she's never actually been to attorney.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so like, who wouldn't want to be excited to be a 13-year-old? Be like, no, you have to stay in your fucking room. And like that would suck.
So Ned,
good on you, Septim Mordain.
Septim Mordain speaks up, and Ned sort of agrees that that's a good point and says that he'll find a place at the tournament for his two daughters. Arya speaks up, saying that she doesn't care about the stupid tournament. She doesn't want to go. And she really doesn't want to go because she knew Joffrey was going to be there, and she hates Joffrey.
She hates it. I love how she did that. It's such the angsty 8-year-old, like, no, I don't want to go. I'm not going to have fun. It's going to be awful, and I hate him.
Yeah, Joffrey's going to be there, and I hate him. But Sansa responds that, it's sure to be a splendid event, and you shan't be wanted there.
Shan't be wanted.
And a quick flash of anger goes across Ned's face, and he tells her, enough, Sansa. Any more of this, and I'm just going to change my mind, and you won't fucking go to the tournament. But he says, I'm tired of this endless war between you two. And Arya... just in that 8-year-old, she starts feeling the tears start stinging in her eyes. It's just she
doesn't want to cry. She's not up.
Yeah, she was reprimanded at dinner in front of an audience
when she's fired up, and it's just.
And so she's determined though not to cry.
So Ned said, "Your sisters now act like it," which my thought there was like, you had a bad day at work, Ned. Like, don't take. Relax.
Well, yeah, like, they are acting like sisters.
Well, and that's
Ned.
I have that written down in my notes. Like, I know that we're brothers, and we know what it's like to have brothers that piss each other off constantly because you still do it to this fucking day. But from what I've heard from sisters I have spoken with in my years on this earth, it's pretty fucking similar.
Yeah,
sisters bicker. They get on each other's nerves. They fight. They argue. They hit each other. Like. There's nothing strange happening there, Ned. Like, they're just sisters acting like fucking sisters.
Ned's stressed. He's got enough on his plate. But Ned ends up excusing himself, saying that he doesn't really have much of an appetite after all.
That's the stress. You can't malnourish yourself, Ned. It's not good for you.
And so he leaves the hall.
It's not healthy.
And the chatter begins to pick up again in the hall. Everyone talking and eating again. But it says that no one talked to Arya, and she didn't care. She liked it that way. And she starts thinking about how sometimes she would even eat in her room when her father permitted it, or some nights, he wasn't able to eat with them, so she would be allowed to eat in her room.
Yeah, and she definitely, she starts reminiscing about, like, her brothers and stuff there, and that's when she missed them the most.
Yeah, she said one of the options when she wasn't eating in her room or eating with Ned's men, and Ned usually tried to do that, it was just her, Ned, and Sansa in Ned's solar, and they would eat dinner together as a family. And she said that was when she really started to miss her brothers.
Yeah, because, like, fuck that.
Yeah, it's just, I imagine it's the most awkward silence of Ned trying to make this small talk, and these two sisters who hate each other right now because of what happened on the King's Road are just... not having it. So.
And that's it. They were, they were so at odds to begin with, because there's a 5-year difference there. Sansa's into different things than Arya's into. Arya still wants to be a little kid playing and having fun. Well, at the time when Winterfell, and but she also the playing and stuff, like it's like the equivalent to a girl being told she has to play with Barbie dolls when she's growing up, but she just wants to get a fucking G.I. Joe and handle some shit. Sansa was into the Barbies. Arya's like, yo, give me a G.I. Joe and a fucking slingshot, and this will be sick as fuck.
And that's it. She, back at Winterfell, she had Jon and even Bran, I think, to an extent, who would play with her.
Because he climbs around, he likes to do stuff.
And Baby Rickon even, but she says that right now she only has Sansa, and Sansa only spoke to her when Father forced her to.
And nobody wants to talk to that in that way. Like, talk to her now.
That's it. Yeah.
Fuck you, bitch.
Your siblings, you're gonna sit here and talk and enjoy each other's company. That's the one way to make sure they never enjoy each other's company. But she starts reminiscing about Ned and how Ned believed in knowing the men who follow him. And so back at Winterfell, he always had an extra seat up at his high table, and he would ask a different man to join him each night just to get to know his household guard, which tells us why Arya idolizes Ned in this.
See, now
because Arya likes to talk to people too. She likes to talk to the different
and riding up on the King's Road and everything. So this real quick brings me back to something I mentioned in Bran 1, maybe. Like early on, he talked about the stranger in the garden who gave him I don't know what the fuck the fruit was or whatever.
An apple.
I don't think it was an apple. I think it was something more exotic than that. Strawberries maybe or something.
The blackberry or blueberry, yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why I was surprised that Bran doesn't know that guy, because Ned invites all sorts of different people. It lists off the different, it's not only just the head of houses, and so small folk even he brings in to sit there and discuss
you're right,
different
but
things.
I think where the difference comes in is that Bran is really only interested in the knights. He doesn't really show an interest in
the small.
Arya loves talking to everybody because she wants that worldly experience. So Bran would pay attention to like Sir Roderick and the stories
the
he's
people
telling.
that are going to tell the Jory who's talking about these cool
whereas Arya and she goes on to say that she had loved listening to them talk, sitting near her father, listening to their stories, as well as the free riders and the courtly knights and the young squires and the grizzled men at arms. She just loved talking to these different people
and interacting with them in general.
Yeah, she would play with their children.
Yep, and that's
when she earned the nickname Arya Underfoot from Fat Tom, because it always seemed like she was running around under people's feet.
She even mentions that she likes that way better than Arya Horseface. And and it's almost funny, like, because it. I remember some of the names I got called as a kid, and I'm not going to say them because they still haunt me to this day. Okay, all right? No, but, there were definitely times where, it would be somebody, you meet a new friend or somebody, and they give you this nickname, and you're like, I like that. Yeah. That's way better than ass butt. What? And so, it makes you feel bad, though, because she's being, especially by her sister and Jane Poole, her sister's best friend.
Yeah, the mean girls of Winterfell.
Yeah, just say, hey, fucking Horseface.
We have Arya Horseface in the burn book.
Where's your bastard brother? Oh, right, our half-brother. Jeez.
Yeah, but Arya thinks that was back at Winterfell, and everything had changed now, and she hated listening to them talk. At the dinner table.
Well, and she mentions this is the first time that they've all eaten together in King's Landing since they've been there.
Yeah, and she thinks that she used to feel safe around them, this household guard, but that was a lie. They all let the queen kill Lady. No one did anything for Micah.
And it's sad because it's something, again, you mentioned back in the first episode, is that those guys aren't bad guys, and it's very much her 8-year-old naivety, not understanding how things work.
It's even the same thing with Sansa.
Real quick before where I was saying with you going to the first episode is that it's that no matter what Garrett told Ned, it doesn't matter.
Was wrong.
He was going to be executed.
Yeah, the queen is ordering.
And so no matter what they did to help it, all it would have done is gotten more of them killed. Yeah, and she doesn't quite understand.
It helps paint, and I love this about Arya. It's just she sees things in black and white. Micah did nothing wrong, and so somebody should have stopped that. That was horribly wrong what happened to him, and there are no shades of gray. It doesn't matter that the queen ordered it to her. The queen is an evil person for ordering it to her.
The queen is wrong. Yeah, why isn't the queen held accountable?
And Arya's right. And that's the thing is, and that's sort of a theme in a lot of books, movies, TV shows, stuff like that, that the children see things the clearest. And right now, I think Arya is. she's not interested in the Game of Thrones. She doesn't care about all that's happening. Her friend was killed because they were playing together, and some prince decided to come out and act like he was some cocksure hot shit son of a bitch, and he got schooled, and this kid got killed for it, and an innocent animal got killed for it.
Yeah, and she ends that whole little thought thing there with, he was my friend. Like,
yeah. Well, even before that, then we get, Arya mentions that Jane Poole had fucking told her that they cut Micah up into so many little pieces that when they gave him back to the butcher, he didn't know that they had given him a person. He thought it was a butchered pig, what was left of him. But, like, fuck you, Jane Poole.
Yeah, no
fuck
shit.
you, Jane Poole. Like,
God.
I hate Jane Poole for this. I don't want to say she deserves what she gets later on in the books,
That's,
but
I was gonna say
I know,
that
like,
too,
I want to
like,
go there, but fuck you, Jane
Yeah,
Poole.
like, that's some
that's
fucked up shit.
horrid to say to
Like-
anybody who just lost a friend, let alone a young girl like this.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty.
she
pretty
thinks,
terrible.
no one raised a voice, not even her father, for Micah. And then, she whispers, he was my friend. And that's all that matters to her. He was my friend. He did nothing wrong, and they killed him. And that's where I come to love Arya so much. It boils down to that. He was my friend, and they killed him. Like,
for no reason.
for no reason.
Yeah,
And
like,
so she says the food makes her feel ill. It's been sitting there so long, it's kind of congealed.
My note here, it says that she decides she isn't hungry and asks to be excused, but Cunta Mordain says no.
Cunta Mordain.
I didn't even remember writing that down.
Arya pushes herself away from the table, and Cunta Mordain asks her, "Where are you going?"
Arya's all, fuck this, I'm out.
It says Arya found it an effort to remember her courtesy. She's lost in her grief here, so it takes her. Whereas Sansa, immediately would, "Oh, may I please be?" Arya, it takes her a minute to remember the proper.
Well, because she's sitting here stressing out, because it's not, you don't really get it in full until a little later in the episode, but it can definitely be inferred that, like, she's feeling heavy guilt about this situation.
She's
like,
an 8-year-old who just dealt with.
Because she asked him to play. Like,
yeah.
And so, she can't. I don't blame her for getting up and being like, I can't handle this shit right now. Like, I'm getting yelled at by my father because my stupid sister's a stupid girl, and that pisses me off. Like, and so, like you said, she just forgets her courtesies. And
So
don't blame her.
She
at
has,
all.
she has to be excused, and Septa Mordain says, "No, you may not. You're gonna sit down and you're gonna clean your plate because you've hardly touched it." And this is when Arya just looks at her and goes, "You clean it," and turns and bolts. And it says that as she was running from the door, the hall erupted into laughter. The men just fucking thought it was great. And I'm sure that's not a new thing. Arya.
So I don't think,
off.
because I don't, at 8 years old, and I'm pretty sure I've experienced that, where I've gotten pissed off and been like, thinking I'm saying some bad stuff.
Yeah, you almost
and it's
say like a bad word.
You're a fire face jerk.
You're a freaking jerk.
Yeah,
and freaking is like a big,
and you
oh
take
boy.
Off. And they're not laughing at you. They're laughing because of the way that she said it to Septa Mordain.
It's so forceful.
That it's like, that's what, but she's going to take it like they're all laughing at her.
Yeah. And so Septa Mordain's calling after her, but Arya sprints, and she sprints all the way back to the Tower of the Hand, where her quarters and Ned quarters and Sansa's quarters are.
Straight past Fat Tom, who's
and
down
Fat
at the
Tom,
bottom
is guarding the door, and she slides right between his legs, which, I mean, she's already got this
That
sort
nimble,
of grace. Yeah, this nimble. She slides right between his legs and runs up the stairs.
Which, the mention of that grace that she has now is really, I'm really excited to record her.
And so, it says that her bedchamber is the only place in King's Landing that she likes, and the only reason that is because it has a massive dark oak door, and when she slammed that door and dropped the crossbar, no one could get in. Not Septa Mordain, not Fat Tom, not Sansa, not her father, not Jory.
Nobody.
Ain't nobody getting through this door.
And now that she's in there, she lets go.
Yeah.
She just breaks down.
She
starts
finally
crying.
feels safe enough to cry. Which is just tragic in itself.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's a direct reflection on life, and
definitely,
especially now, with the way bullying it is, and things, how fucked society is.
And so she goes and she sits at her window seat, hating them all and hating herself most of all. And it says it was all her fault. Everything bad that had happened.
And then here again,
Sansa said so, and Jane too. So you've got this little 8-year-old. Who's dealing with the death of her best friend that she believes is her fault, and then she's got her older sister and another older girl
who lied and didn't have her back during.
that. I mean, to Arya's eyes, Sansa lied and didn't have her back, and then she's got this other older girl telling her that this is all your fault, everything. Nymeria, Micah, all this is your fault. And so Fat Tom knocks at the door, and Arya asks if she's in there, and Arya yells no, and then thinks that tricked him. And I don't know if that's the case. She believes that she tricked him and says he's easy to fool.
He is pretty dumb.
But I think
we do get that. But I think it's
what's he gonna do? Break the door? I think he goes and gets Ned.
He's exactly. She's not responding to me. She's not. I better just go. Yeah, I mean he's pretty dumb, but I agree. He went and got Ned.
And so she goes to the chest at the foot of her bed and throws all her clothes on the floor until she finds Needle at the bottom.
And so I like the fact that the place she goes to her room for comfort, the safe place, but the first thing that she does to get comfort
is Needle.
And even though the reason. Needle is the reason for Micah's death in her eyes, but it's this gift from Jon. It's got this connection, so it's the only place she knows to seek comfort because it's got that tie to him.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. It reminds her of Jon Snow, and it says as she pulls it out, she thinks of Micah, and tears fill her eyes, and this is where we get her guilt, that she says if she had never asked him to play swords with her, and then it ... completing the thought. If I never, asked him to play swords, he wouldn't be dead. And then Septim Mordain begins pounding on the door, open it this instant. And I love this moment because Arya turns to the door and slashes the air. Like,
yo, I have legit done that myself.
Yeah.
Like, not just swords, sticks.
She says, you better not come in. And I think at this point, if Septim Mordain had somehow come, Arya would have stabbed her. Like, I think she was just so in her anger that she's in her grief, and now she's got Needle. This will make it all right. Like,
I think
the way she slashes when she hears the pounding on the door and tells her, you better not come in here, and like she's just in a mood right now.
I think that she's got herself worked into a panic, and there's definitely some of that there, where after sitting here firing herself up about the thoughts,
maybe not stabbed her, maybe that is a bit much, but I think she would have resisted, and something bad
I definitely
could have
think
happened.
that if Septim Mordain came in at her, she'd have backed into the corner waving the sword around to where Septim Mordain couldn't do anything or get close enough. Absolutely.
So the Septa roars that the hand will hear of this.
I don't care. Like, wonderful.
Go away.
Good.
And so, the Septa leaves, and Arya goes back to the window.
I like that she says, you will rue this insolent behavior.
Yeah.
See? Cunt to Mordain.
And so, Arya goes back to the window, and this is when she starts wishing that she could climb like Bran. Because then she could be free from all this. She would run away from this horrible place, and she could find Nymeria.
So, I think that her wishing this here gives her... I think it is actually Martin tying and giving a connection to Bran and Arya, and not just as Starks, but as actual Greenseers and the warging capabilities.
Oh, really?
It's, she wish... How many of the other ones have said, I wish I could climb like Bran, be free like Bran, and to where she's one that I feel... I suppose Jon's pretty close too, but of course he will be of the other siblings. That
Well, no, it is interesting because she's looking out the window as she says this, and as we know, Bran has a thing with windows. And
true story.
And then she does continue saying she could find Nymeria and return to Winterfell or to Jon at the Wall. So we get. Oh yeah. And then she wishes Jon was here now, so we get Jon and Bran. So I think it's one or the other. She wishes she could either climb like Bran and sort of go Bran's route, or go be with Jon at the Wall. And it's just she's got so many emotions playing in her head right now.
Because in the we all know in the end she makes her own path and does her own thing.
And then so this is when a soft knock comes at the door, and it's her father, and he just says, Arya, open the door, we need to talk.
So I have this note here that it's still that she's thinking to herself about how much she misses Jon. And then Ned shows up.
Yeah.
And he's the one to calm him down. And I think it's very funny that, Ned's not his dad, but he's got this same calming mannerism.
Demeanor,
This way that Arya can... I mean, she's immediately at ease compared to 5-10 minutes ago when Septim Mordain was there.
Definitely.
Like, she's much more relaxed.
And she does. She opens the door, and he comes in, and he seems more sad than angry, she notices. And that makes her feel worse. She knows... And I, like... And I get that as a kid. Like, she sees that there's a weight on Ned. She doesn't really know what all it is with the tourney and everything that's going on. But, like, she feels bad for adding to it. She knows she acted up and she's been acting crazy. But she has all this grief and guilt inside her. She doesn't know how to express it. She's 8 years fucking old. So
Ned...
He asks,
may
I come in? And this is when...
Arya looks down ashamed.
Yeah.
And I have a kid. you know my kid, and my
know your
kid
quite well.
He,
little savage.
I love my son more than anything, but he can be a little shit, man. And I've seen that look where like I'll come in and I don't want to yell at him or anything, but he does something wrong, whatever it is. Didn't put his toys away. He's not brushing his, and I just walk in. Hey, buddy. Now listen. I get that you were playing with your toys. And I understand that you want to play with them again tomorrow. But throwing knives at Dad because you don't want to put away your Legos is not okay, buddy, all right? Because you see how I need stitches now? And he just gets this look on his face. And so I know exactly what Arya was looking like there, just completely ashamed with herself. And so she just looks down and...
she nods her head and lets her father enter. And he does and closes the door. And this is when he notices that needle is in her hand. And he asks, whose sword is that? And she says, mine. And he tells her to give it to me. And she does so reluctantly, but she believes it may be the last time she's ever holding this sword.
Because she says that, when she was, I think she was so relieved that her father was there now. When, she just saw him excuse himself. He had stormed out of the hall himself, basically. And she had completely forgot that she had needle in her hand to begin with when she opened the door. And so, like you said, she was worried she'd never get to hold it again. And so he tests its point and calls it a Bravos blade, which is exactly what it is. And he recognizes the maker's mark.
Yes.
And he realizes that that's Micken, his own the Stark Smith.
Yeah.
Arya can't lie to him.
No.
And so he mentions, how am I supposed to run the Seven Kingdoms when I can't even run my own house without this kind of stuff?
Yeah. And he asks her how she got it, but she doesn't want to betray Jon, so she doesn't answer him. But he says that it really doesn't matter.
I put a side note there that I think it's really funny that Arya is refusing this because she's a sister that doesn't want to betray her brother, but Ned is the epitome of the brother who won't tell things because he doesn't want to betray his sister.
Yeah, it's this nice comparison.
Yeah, like that's the opposites, but they're both, holding their sibling in the highest regard. No, I won't give up my best friend, brother, sister, all that jazz.
Yeah, but this is when Ned said, I suppose it doesn't matter who gave it to you, but he tells her this is not a toy. And he asks her, what would the Septa say to see you swinging this around? And this is when Arya says, I don't care, I hate the Septa.
And that she wasn't playing.
And that, she's not playing with it, she's trying to learn. And that's when Ned says, that's enough. And it says his voice was curt and hard. And he kind of pities Septa for a minute. And he says, we've charged this poor woman the impossible task of trying to make you a lady. And this is when Arya says, I don't want to be a lady. And Ned doesn't really have a reaction to this.
He flares up a little bit.
But he tells her that he should just snap Needle over his knee and be done with it. And Arya, always defiant, tells him that Needle wouldn't break. Do it. Which reminds me again of your son. Like, do it. Go ahead, throw out my toys.
I don't even care.
Are you throwing out the expensive ones?
Go get those ones. I don't want those anymore.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely think Ned, kind of flared for a second there with the, like, I just need to, I'll snap this thing now.
Yeah.
And then she's like, it won't break. And she knows it. That's a lie. Like, that thing's not going to withstand some real hardcore pressure. If he really wants to break it, it'll break somehow.
And so when she says that Needle wouldn't break, he says, it has a name,
and I really like that piques his interest.
And then we get sort of the one of the best, I think, descriptions. He says, Arya, you have a wildness in you, child. The wolf blood, my father used to call it. Lyanna had a touch of it. My brother Brandon had a touch more. And it brought them both to an early grave. Ugh.
Yeah, that's...
Ugh.
So as I mentioned, unless you have... I have a point.
No, I was just going to say right there, we get the direct comparison.
Well, that's it.
Like,
the fact that
he's
got that kind of side by side with the not betraying the sibling above, and now they're bringing Lyanna, and, there he is saying, they both had this touch of it. Do you think anything in particular about Brandon, or he was a wild kid?
I think it was the duel with Peter Baelish. Like he was quick to, and that from everything that I recall reading of Brandon, he was a bit of a hothead.
Yeah,
He
and that's
was
what I
known-
was.
Yeah.
It's just that he's a hothead.
Yeah,
he liked
yeah,
the,
it's
he
the
liked the
wolf
tournaments.
blood,
He likes.
yeah.
He was just a little.
And so Arya can hear the sadness in his voice, and she thinks to herself that he didn't often speak of these two. He didn't speak of his siblings. But he continues that Lyanna might have carried a sword if my lord father had allowed it. You remind me of her sometimes. You even look like her. And Arya's blown away by this, and she says her first thought is, but Lyanna was beautiful.
Yes.
Thinking, I'm not beautiful, which is like Arya. Oh.
I know.
Aw.
Which I really, honestly, granted, I'm,
But Ned, the all-star
grown
dad,
man.
agrees that
Yeah, exactly. I
Lyanna
think
was
that's
beautiful.
how, and I think Martin probably nailed it, but again, I'm a dude, so I don't know. That's probably how a lot of 8-year-old girls feel, that, like, when people tell them they're beautiful, they're like, what, me? Do you see her? Like, what? Why me?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, definitely.
But
Ned
again,
agrees that, Lyanna was, and he kind of keeps that comparison. So good job, Ned.
Yeah, Shit, I turned my page too soon. Again, with how he says that she looks like Lyanna, there's only one other sibling that looks like Arya.
Yeah.
And that's Jon Snow.
And looks like Ned. And like, shares this.
Yeah, and so if Jon Snow and Arya look similar, and Arya and Lyanna look a lot alike, then maybe there's more Lyanna in Jon Snow than we actually know.
So he asks her, what would you like to do with Needle? And, and he asks her, do you know the first thing about using a sword? And she immediately thinks of Jon's last words to her, basically. And she says, stick him with the pointy end. And he laughs. And
yeah, because that's the general idea, is basically what he agrees.
She says here, and she gets a little desperate, it says she desperately wanted to explain and to make her father see. And then this is when she gets into I was trying to learn, and then tears fill her eyes. And she tells him, I asked Micah to practice with me. And
she just breaks
And
it.
then all at once, the grief hits her. She's finally talking about it, and it says, it was my fault, it was me. And Ned gets it, and suddenly her father's arms are around her, and she's sobbing, and he tells her, grieve for your friend, but never blame yourself. You did not kill the butcher's boy. That murder lies at the hound's door, him and the cruel woman he serves. So Ned immediately gets it. She's blaming herself for the butcher's boy, and I think that hurts him. I mean, as a father, as a elderly figure in a child's life,
Absolutely.
there was nothing she did wrong there.
So she says, she hates them all, and Joffrey lied, and that's when Ned's like, we all lie, and he says he knows her and Jory lied to him.
Yeah.
And
do you truly believe, or did you truly think I believed Nymeria ran off? Like,
yeah. And that's when he gives this really cool line that Ned says it was right, and even the lie was not without honor.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's Ned's life.
That's it. Like, what? But where do you? That's what makes him such a hard character to really get on board with, is where do you draw that line, though, Ned?
Yeah.
Like, what makes you decide what is and isn't honorable? Granted, we all have morals, and there's certain morals that are obvious, but...
So he picks up Needle again, and he goes to the window, and then he's sitting, and his eyes are all thoughtful, and he tells her to sit, and he basically says, you know our words, and she says, winter is coming, and he just says that there's hard, cruel times ahead. You were born in the long summer. You don't know anything else, but now winter is truly coming. And he's basically saying that, like, you and Sansa need to mend this shit. We need to start looking out for each other. And we get the line, when the snows fall and the white winds blow, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives.
I always just think of Mighty Ducks there. Because when at the end of Mighty Ducks 2, they're like getting all ramped up, and they're like, and how are we going to get past and rise up? Ducks fly together. And so I just think of the pack survives.
I hate you.
It's pretty great.
But he says we have to protect each other, and if you must hate those who would truly do us harm. Sansa's your sister. She needs you, you need her, and I need you both. Gods fucking help me. And that's when Arya says, I don't hate Sansa, not truly. She's my sister, she's a bitch, and I hate her in that sort of way. And Ned tells her, I won't lie to you, this is a dangerous place. We have enemies who mean us ill.
Yeah, he said that summer is the time for squabbles.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, it's what Jon Snow is going to eventually try and be pushing.
Yeah.
That, like,
it's the time to be growing up.
There's more shit that needs to be handled beyond the end. And I suppose Dany, too, over on the other side, I just kind of forget that she's not in winter as much.
Yeah.
Just because they're
and
desert.
Yeah, and Arya vows that she will. She's ready to start growing up.
And he doesn't say that in a mean way. Like, he's not. He's just saying, like,
no, he's almost lamenting
like,
it. Like,
you know,
it's time to start growing. Like, we have to. Winter is coming,
and we're in a dangerous place. We have to watch our backs. And he's I definitely noticed that he was still trying to be the kindly father there, and not.
And
you know,
Arya, I think, notices it too, because she says she had never loved him so much as she did in that instant, and she promises him that I can be as strong as Robb. So she really wants to live up to what she thinks he expects.
But you notice, though, she's aspiring to the future Lord of Winterfell, not to Lady Catelyn.
She's not thinking she's gonna be lady. And
to
so
Robb.
He hands her a needle, and he says, "Go on, it's yours." And she asks for true, and he says, "For true."
For reals, Dad!
And he just tells her, just try not to stab your sister. And so then we get the next morning, Arya actually goes ahead and apologizes to Septa Mordain.
Who doesn't buy into it all that much.
No, but she gets an approving nod from Ned. Ned notices she's trying, and with Arya, an apology, even as shitty as it is better than nothing. And so
3 days later, Vane Poole, Jane's Vane, whatever
Poole?
his name is, the steward of Ned Stark, comes up and tells Arya that she needs to go to the small hall, which, as we mentioned at the beginning of the chapter, isn't a small hall.
It's not the Great Hall.
It's just smaller than, actually, I think it's almost the same size as the Great Hall.
Yeah, it seats less men, but it's still grand and big.
So she goes to the small hall and notices all the tables and
everything's
benches
pushed to the side,
pushed all up against the wall, and it's empty. She thought.
Yes.
Until a person steps from the shadows, saying, "You are late, boy."
And she sees a slight man with a bald head and a great beak of a nose, and he steps out holding 2 wooden swords. And he tells her, "I am your dancing master." And he throws her one, and she misses the catch.
She also notices he has either a Bravosi or like a Mere accent. She's not quite sure. She just knows it's not from here and that it's over on the other side of the ocean.
And so she misses the sword catch, and he tells her, "Tomorrow you will catch it." And she picks up the
pick
sword.
it up.
Yep, and it's much heavier than Needle. And she holds it, trying to hold it with both hands, but he instructs her that just one hand. And she's holding it in her left, he notices, and he tells her that that's good. People don't expect people to come from the left-hand side. So he teaches her how to stand and her grip on this sword.
So I like that he mentions also that this sword is hollowed out in the center and filled with lead.
Yeah.
To make it heavy,
to make her strong.
To make her strong.
And she asks, "What if I drop it?" And he says, "Can you drop part of your arm? The steel must be part of your arm." And then he tells her, 9 years Syrio Forel was first sword to the Sea Lord of Bravos. He knows these things, boy. Listen to him.
She corrects him here. Girl. And he's like, what's the quote?
"Boy, girl, you are a sword."
It doesn't matter. You're a sword.
That is all. And he says, "You are not holding a battle axe. You are holding a," and she cuts in, "needle."
Yeah,
and he gives her a just so. And so,
I love the just so. It's one of my favorite Syrio
Syrio Forel. And then he tells her, "This ain't no Westeros bullshit. Now we will begin the dance."
The dance.
And he says it's not the hacking and slashing of the Westerosi knights, but it is swift and sudden. If you could all see me, I'm doing the Syrio thrust right now because I fucking love this scene. And now he tells her, "Now you will try to strike me."
And she just goes at him
tried.
for hours. And I feel like, she's just getting the frustration of the last few weeks
That's
out.
it.
Like, it's a
physical release for her.
And it's, that she knows at the end where she's too sore to lift her arms up, she's still trying.
That's it, yeah.
Just because, it's that ache to relieve herself of that inner turmoil.
And it's something that interests her, so she's throwing every ounce of her being into it.
Exactly. To be invited to this chamber to have that opportunity, and that's all she wanted. That's the reason Micah got killed, was because she just wanted to learn how to play at swords. No,
yeah.
I'm a bad person for saying play at swords, because that's exactly what she doesn't do.
Yeah.
But
no, and then it just says that the next day their real work began, and he actually begins showing her some fun stuff, and that's where the chapter ends. And I love it so much because Ned set this up. He knows his daughter, I mean, especially after the talk they just had, wants to use this sword. So,
and it's awesome that he's it shows his knowledge as well. He saw that it was a Braavosi blade right off the bat.
Yeah.
He went and found an actual water dancer because he knows that she doesn't have the build for that Brienne of Tarth style fight.
Oh yeah, no.
You know, and so yeah, like props to Ned for that. Even though he was pretty dumb at the beginning, telling him to act like sisters when he should be trying to. Granted, I don't know how the fuck you take care of daughters,
and like,
so
yeah,
like,
that's it. Ned's just he's trying to raise daughters, man, and he's a hard warden of the North. Like he doesn't.
He's out of his fucking element.
Yeah,
there.
like with John and Rob, he can just give him a cuff on the side of the head, and like it's good. But he doesn't want to, abuse his daughters. So it's this interesting. Poor dude has to.
Yeah, he's trying to figure it out.
Try to dance around his sister,
and
his
in
daughters.
The snake pit too.
Well, that's it. Where his daughter's now promised to the prince, one of them. And, and buys into all of it as well. Whereas Arya's a little more perceptive. But
yeah, she does.
You got an inductee?
Oh man. No, you go first.
Obviously, I'm giving it to the first sword to the Sea Lord of Bravo, Syrio Forel. We need a swordsman like him in the Brotherhood. And he's just amazing. Boy, girl, you are a sword. So I love Syrio. And he's the first, as we know, Arya tends to sort of mimic a lot of people that she spends time around. And Syrio is one of the first people. His mantras, swift as a river or quiet as a snake, those little montages she says, fear cuts deeper than sword. All those things she says throughout the rest of the series start here with Syrio. Here. So he's a huge influence on her character, and that's why I'm inducting him to the Brotherhood.
Wonderful. I'm glad he's here. He'll help out a lot. I've decided that I'm going to give my inductee this week to Septa Mordane.
Oh my God!
Now I hated her. I called her Cunta Mordane at the beginning, but
Rude.
Ned won me over. Like she really is just like this poor woman. She's like the babysitter that our mother would hire when we were kids, who would be like, our mother would be like, now dinner time's at 6:30 and bedtime's at 7:30, and she'd try to put us to bed and it'd be like 11:30 and we're like, bah!
Yeah, we were.
And so yeah, I'll give her a pass this time and give her the inductee for tolerating some hardcore, like, because not just her, back up north it was Bran. She had to fucking track down, climbing every fucking way.
Well, I don't really think that Septa Mordane is training Bran and Rickon their courtesies.
Yeah.
I think it's more.
But she was tasked with trying to keep him off the walls at times.
That's true.
So she is still kind of a babysitter for the younger ones as well. And then also walking. I'm pretty sure she did a majority of the caretaking for Rickon, but I could be off there.
I don't.
Who the fuck knows? But yeah, so I'm gonna give it to Mordane.
Right, yeah,
she can teach some of the dumbass members of the Brotherhood in the back, how to fucking read or something. I guess that'd be Lewin. I don't know. She can make us some blankets. What up, Septa Mordane? Yay!
You need to go read the 7-Pointed Star and do some praying. Anyway, those are our inductees. Write into us. Let us know what you guys thought of the chapter or any inductees you might have from this chapter, past chapters, or future chapters. We will get there eventually.
And if you like this and you're not already, like we said, right after this, we're going to be rereading the sample chapter for Mercy.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to really dive into that one.
Check it out on the Patreon,
which is patreon.com/without manners.
Yeah, you can also, if you're more a fan of the bird calls or the tweeting, you can find us at Twitter at mannerswithout. We also have our face in a book at facebook.com/brotherhoodpodcast. I have an instant graham cracker on Instagram at Brotherhood Without. You can also find us on iTunes and Spotify.
What do you got for the Gmail?
I don't have the Gmail in my notes.
You're a terrible, terrible person. It's on that card right over there. Without Manners Brotherhood at gmail.com. Write into us, guys. We've been getting a lot of good stuff. We started up the show stuff. That'll be Thursday. That's only going to run for a few more weeks yet.
Yeah.
We have some write-ins about that, but we're going to keep those to the show episodes.
We're excited to address some of the things that were raised, though, so keep an eye out for that. And, yeah, guys, we're just really enjoying all the feedback we have been getting, all the interactions we've had with you guys over
on Twitter
the last
and
couple months,
Instagram, Facebook. It's been awesome.
And what's fun is we're only in book 1, guys. There's still a long road to go with these characters, and we're just more and more excited for who knows? Dunk and Egg could become a thing. Probably will become a thing.
It will definitely become a thing.
And then we got Fire and Blood, which Nate is currently working his way through.
So, speaking of Dunk and Egg, there was this Reddit post today where somebody had asked if anybody thought that the Dunk and Egg series, because Martin has mentioned that he would like to write more Dunk and Egg adventures there.
Yeah.
And they asked if everybody thought that the Adventures Dunk and Egg would end at the Summerhall tragedy. And I had to reply, and so I said, well, we can probably say it's safe to assume that it won't go any further than that.
That's mean.
But it's true.
I don't like it.
And so
whenever you had a really weird comparison about like the Mighty Ducks this episode, so here's my weird one. Whenever I hear Dunk and Egg, I always think of Dunkaroos. The snack.
Kangaroo snack.
Yeah,
there.
that you dip.
Hell yes.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Dunk and Egg.
Anyway, that's where we'll leave you this week, guys. Check us on the next one.
The next book episode will be Danny 3, so join us for that. Until then, check out the show episode. We will see you there.
Send us inductees for Danny 3.
Bella Harris.
Peace.